Hello everyone, my name is Sarathi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to talk about everything that just happened going live for the Legends of Runeterra new patch. So there's a lot to talk about, let's get right into it. Starting up, we have the new legend level cap. So previously we capped at 50, now we move on to 80. So if your legend level is already maxed, you can go up to 80. At level 80, you get a Nova Crystal Vessel, which will include a Nova Crystal. That's crazy. Then there's also a Gold Star Vessel for every region, and a Major Gemstone Vessel, along with a bunch of Wild Fragments and Plat and Diamond Vaults. So just a really solid list of options for leveling up. And for those of you who are worried about getting XP to get these new levels, every Fiddlesticks area in the 5-star gives you 8,000 legend level XP. So you're going to get some legend levels this patch. Don't worry. Next up, we have champion level increases. As you can see, Aurelion Sol is now level 31. The champion levels for everyone appear to be the same. So at level 31, you get 2 extra health. At level 32, you get 30 extra starting gold. At level 33, your rare chance to find rare items and powers increases to 20%. Regen increases at 34. Nexus health increases again at 35. Your epic chance goes up to 10%. 30 extra gold. 25% chance to find rare items. 2 extra health. 1 more reroll. 30 more gold. 4% chance to find legendary powers. 2 more health. 2 more regen. 30 more gold. 30% chance to find rare items. 2 more health. 12.5% chance to find epic items. 30 more gold, and a 5% chance to find legendary powers. So if you get up to level 50, you have 10 extra health, 4 extra regen, 150 extra gold, and much better chance to get rare, epic, and legendary items than you did before. Fantastic. This is a lot of fun. Okay, next up we have the new additions to the world. First of all, the shop now has the featured tab in it finally. So you can actually look at your like if you wanted to buy the battle pass, it'll show up here instead of you having to go outside of the Path of Champions, which was never really smart of them. And then for the Emporium, Norwell's Portal Accelerator is here, and Starforged Gauntlets is gone. And they've also added a Major Gemstone Vessel, and they tell you what the Major Gemstone Vessel is before you buy it, for 15,000 Stardust. So if you are done buying gold reliquaries and you are done buying rare relics, this is a good use of your Stardust. So hopefully you guys can get some upgrades. And then for the map, they have removed the weekly nightmares. The weekly adventures are still here. And they have added a new area to Shadow Isles, which is the Ancient Fear. This is a 3.5 area for Fiddlesticks, and the rule is called Jump Scare. When the foe draws a follower that costs 2 or less, they summon it. Really powerful and interesting ability. It's not nearly as dangerous as Lysandra, but I did almost lose my first run against Fiddlesticks. I was playing Gwen and definitely got my face punched in on the first round. The second round I only won because I had burn, so very, very dangerous. You can play 1 champion from every region, and it looks like every time you win, you get a gold star vessel and 1,500 legend points. That's really, really good. And you also get a quest to clear a 3-star area. Once you've completed that quest, you unlock the Nightmare section, and you also get a Nova Vessel. So you get a free Nova Crystal just for beating a 3-star adventure. It doesn't have to be Fiddlesticks. It could be Kaisa, Galio, Aurelion Sol, whatever you want. Now that we have the Nightmare area, the Nightmare area contains the weekly nightmares, right there. And then it also has Bilgewater and Shadow Isles. Bilgewater has an option to fight Fizz at 4.5 stars. Fizz has Surging Tides, Round Start. All players refill their spell mana and draw a spell if able, and then also Deadly. And if you beat Fizz, you get 20 Wild Fragments and 30 Legend Points. If you go into the Shadow Isles, you have an option for the Ruined King, a new 5-star adventure. So now we have another 5-star adventure that people can potentially beat with the new champions instead of Lysandra or Swain. Hopefully this one's a little bit easier, and then you can actually start winning the game a little bit more. I don't know why they didn't move Swain in here. because it seems like every area in here has deadly, so it's weird that Swain is still in the other area while Swain doesn't have. Swain has deadly. Viego has Shifting Mists. Round start, if the foe has the attack token, they summon an Encroaching Mist with an item and grant Encroaching Mist everywhere +1/+1. So that's pretty scary. If you beat Viego, you do get 40 Viego fragments and 4,000 legend points. Then you have the 6.5 Fiddlesticks. Jump Scare has been upgraded to if the foe draws a follower that costs 3 or less, they summon it and grant it +2/+2 and Fearsome. Very, very powerful. And the level up, if the reward is you get 40 Fiddlesticks fragments and 8,000 legend level. Cool. So those are the new additions. We also have, of course, the Return of the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass is the same as it always has been. We have a bunch of silver and gold vaults. Then we get 3 plat vaults and a diamond vault at the very end, along with some silver star vessels, a major gemstone vessel, some star crystals. Focus on the Runeterra region because both Evelyn and Fiddlesticks are Runeterran champions. Feels good. Feels great. And let's see. That is pretty much it for the upgrades to the air. Oh, they added animation speeds. If you want to increase your animation speed, you go to settings here, scroll down to video. Scroll down to Path of Champions in-game animation speed beta. You can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 times speed. I was playing at 2 times speed. It felt really good, but I also I think I crashed my stream. So if you didn't watch my stream, I did stream the 6.5 star area, and my audio was fine. My audio was completely fine, but every time I played a card, it would cause my screen to skip frames. So I think it was this. I did try and turn it off, but it didn't help. And then now let's talk about the new champions. So Evelyn, not much to say. I've already talked about everything with Evelyn mostly, but where's she? Eve. Have I lost my mind? There she is. Okay. Let's see. So her deck. Ceaseless Sentry, 2 mana, 2/1, Last Breath, draw 1, and it has Serrated Dirk for Fearsome. Fearsome is a bad item. They should not have given any new champions any new cards. Fearsome means nothing against Deadly, but okay. And then the other changes, Hate Spike has Morellonomicon. Suture changed from having Stud Letter to having a Philosopher's Stone, which is really good. Domination lost Phage and got the Giant's Belt instead, but Vora gets Great Club and then also Phage at some point. I'm not high enough level with Evelyn yet. And then we have a Siren Song, which gets Grifter's deck, so it shuffles 2 copies of it into the deck and it costs 1. This is a 6 mana spell that summons a random husk and grants 1 cost to allies everywhere, +1/+1. Then there's also, it also gets Tear of the Goddess, so it's 4 mana. So yeah, Evelyn's deck got a significant increase, but let's take a look at her new Constellation. Okay. Her 2-star got changed, so it used to be +1 starting mana the first time you kill an allied follower, or the first time you kill a follower each round, create a fleeting copy of it in hand. Now it's the first time you kill an allied follower each round, so you can't brick on enemy followers. That's fine. That's actually pretty good for her. You know, it makes it feel better to get just a bunch of husks. But then the rest of her area... Star of Discovery, followers you require in adventures have Great Club. This is basically Crush, except for the fact that it doesn't apply to your starting deck, which is kind of weak. It doesn't apply to Evelyn herself or to your support champions. And a lot of the followers that you want to acquire in adventures anyway already have Overwhelm. So I feel like this one's a little bit weak compared to others. Like, I mean, if it was Pickaxe, if it was maybe like Challenger or Tough, I feel like that would be a little bit better. Overwhelm, you're going to win the game, but I don't think that Evelyn really had a problem ending the game. It does give you a way to really use some of the stats that you acquire, but only with cards outside of her starting deck. And how many of those are you really going to get is the problem. The more cards that you add to your deck, the less likely you are to summon husks in the first place. So, it's hit and miss. Mana Flow, of course. Then Then we have Big Ol' Dust Sprinkle. When you summon a created ally, grants it +1/+1. I'm pretty sure these are the other upgrades for Runeterrans. Star of Bounty, plus 200 gold. That's fine, I guess. There's always going to be a Star of Bounty. It's either going to be gold or health and rerolls, and this one's just gold, so it's fine. Star of Legends, your support champions have Bonded Bucklers. Bonded Bucklers is support, grant my supported ally +1/+1 and all of my keywords this round. Obviously, that's really good if you have a bunch of keywords, which you will when you're playing Evelyn. But if you, generally speaking, you want to get all of your keywords on Evelyn, not on another champion, because if you play another champion, then you're not playing Evelyn, and then the husks are dying, and then when Evelyn comes down, she can only level up once. This is probably the best Star of Legend she could have gotten, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be that important or relevant to her deck. Star of Blessings, last crest has Chalice of Harmony. Last crest, of course, is 4 mana, stop all spells and skills targeting Evelyn, and she strikes an enemy. Having that cost 1 is crazy. This card is not in her main deck, but if you have a copy of Evelyn in your hand, this is what it turns into, so solid. And then Star of Wonder, Hate Spike has Charging Sigil 2, so now Hate Spike is 2 mana. Kill an ally to deal 3, to give a unit -5/-5, because it has Morella Nomicon and Charging Sigil 2. And then if Evelyn started in your deck, summon a random husk. So you can kill an ally, you summon a husk, and then you give a unit -5/-5. That is pretty good for 2 mana. So this is like a fine upgrade, but I'm just overall underwhelmed by this tree. And of course we have Knight's Kiss. When an allied husk grants stats to an ally, it grants double the amount. Okay, so that is Evelyn. And then for Fiddlesticks, we have both the Constellation and we have his deck, which we didn't know the item cards for. So Fiddlesticks, for the deck, we have a Baleful Seeker starts with Giant Spelt. This is interesting. So Baleful Seeker, of course, is a 4 mana 5/3 with Challenger and Strike. Plant a copy of me in the enemy deck as a nightmare. The thing is, this card was created solely for Path of Champions. So it is not a card that needed to be balanced around PvP. Which raises the question. If the developers thought this card needed to be a 5/5 to function, which I agree, definitely is a lot better as a 5/5, why did they not just make it a 5/5? Why are they making us level Fiddlesticks up to get 2 extra health on a card they could have just given 2 health to begin with? And that's an awkward question, right? Like, I understand the upgrades for other cards, like, for example, when you give Studded Leather to a 2-drop or something, it's because the 2-drop can't have that much stats to begin with, because the regular game you only have 20 health, but these cards are never going to be played in the regular game. So, and I feel like it is a bit unfair to say something like this, because of course that I would be saying the same thing if the developers had done something different. If the developers had given Baleful Seeker Chain Vest, I would be saying the same thing. I'd be saying, if you thought this unit had needed to have tough, why didn't you just give it tough? So of course there have to be some items put on these cards, but I feel like stats probably is the weakest argument you could make for cards like this, because they're not interesting, and it's not like other champions are going to get copies of Baleful Seeker all that easily. So I don't feel like there's any justification for this card to be a 5/3 that has to earn 2 health, even if it is just by getting Fiddlesticks to level 2. It's a good card, though. The 4 mana 5/5 Challenger that creates nightmares is great. Next up, we have Shallow Siren with Studded Leather. That's perfectly fine. 3 mana 2/5 Elusive that terrifies 1 every time you draw a card. Yeah, this is insane. The artwork for this card is great, by the way. Reap has Mana Potion. Reap is, of course, 2 mana. Grant 2 enemies Gloom or 1 enemy 2 Gloom. So for 1 mana is fantastic. It's a fast spell. It's perfect. Arachnoid Horror starts with Horrific Visage. Horrific Visage is a new item. On play, plant 2 copies of me as nightmares in the enemy deck. So Arachnoid Horror, when you summon it, it will become 2 nightmares in the enemy deck. And we'll talk about nightmares in a minute if you didn't watch my other video. Don't worry. Next up, we have Crowstorm starts with Stopwatch. This is probably the weakest. I mean, it's important for Crowstorm to have Stopwatch. I mean, definitely. But it's a 7 mana spell that deals 2 Gloom to everybody and terrifies 2. I feel like probably, I mean, it being burst speed is really good. Don't get me wrong. It being burst speed is pretty solid, but you don't have a lot of ways to stack spell mana to begin with in this deck, so I feel like this should have just been Tear of the Goddess, to be honest. Next up, we have False Friend. Starts with Arcane Knowledge. False Friend is a 2-mana, 1/3 fearsome impact with attack. Give enemies -1/-0 this round. Drawing a spell is solid. You can draw your Crowstorm, you can draw your Reap, and just have Gloom ready to pair with this card. It's just a good card overall. Next up, we have Dread Harvester. Starts with Double Time Watch. Dread Harvester is an 8-mana 5/5 with play, kill a unit, and round end Terrify 1 for each unit that died this round. It has Fearsome. When there's an 8-cost card, yeah, it's either going to be Double Time Watch or Nomad's Medallion. Is Double Time Watch better than Nomad's Medallion? Usually. Obviously, it's not going to feel that good if you draw this card when you have 6 mana. But then you can just wait one turn. You will have 7 mana and it will cost 7. So it's not that big of a drawback. It is debatable about whether we should have an epic item that reduces a card's cost by 3 specifically for these high-cost cards. I feel like if this card was a 5-mana 5/5, it would be very, very solid. But Double Time Watch does overall solve the feels bad of opening a high-cost card in your hand. Again, it does raise the question of why this card had to be 8 mana to start with. It is a very powerful card, don't get me wrong, but if they were going to reduce its cost anyway, I don't know that they can really justify it starting at 8 if they thought that it would be balanced to play it at like 6. So, yeah. I mean, if you could play this for 4, you will. And then the flexibility of being able to play this card for 0 eventually is really, really good. So Double Time Watch probably feels like the best item for it right now. Lurking Nightmare starts with Shadow Totem. This is insane. This is fantastic. Lurking Nightmare is a 1-mana 1/1 with Last Breath. Plant a Forgotten Terror in the enemy deck as a Nightmare. Forgotten Terror is a 1-mana 6/3 with Challenger and Overwhelm. So a 1/1 that has Last Breath to shuffle a powerful card in your opponent's deck, and it has Shadow Totem, so you get 2 copies of it, and one of them immediately dies, even if your opponent doesn't do anything, is amazing. This is top tier. Perfect. Best card in the deck. Next up, we have Reap. Starts with Pyromantic Wake. Pyromantic Wake, of course, is deal 3 damage to the enemy nexus when played. So it's 1 mana. Give 1 unit 2 Gloom, or 2 units 1 Gloom each, and then deal 3 to the enemy nexus. Very, very good card, especially if you draw it off of the Arcane Knowledge. And then lastly, we have Dread Harvester. Starts with Warding Charm. So this is 8 mana 5/5 that kills the unit and has an effect that terrifies every round end. Gets Spell Shield, so it's harder to get off the board. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Especially since you can play this card for free by summoning it as a Nightmare. So Warding Charm is, again, a top tier pick. This card will be insanely difficult for your opponent to remove, which is great. It's a Lurking Nightmare that just removes your opponent's entire deck if you leave it on the board long enough. Excellent. And that's all for the level ups. Fiddlesticks' Constellation is fantastic. Nowhere is Safe 1, round end, Terrify 1 for each time an ally struck the enemy nexus this round. So let's talk about the deck. Nightmares. Nightmares are traps that appear in the enemy deck, and when a Nightmare card is drawn, the unit that was in the Nightmare comes out to your side of the field, or goes to your hand if you don't have space, or if you have a Fiddlesticks already. And Terrify is obliterate the top X cards of your opponent's deck, triggering all traps. So this can get rid of champions, it can get rid of buff cards, it rips through your opponent's deck, makes it easier for you to get Nightmares, and then you just mill them to death. It's fantastic. It really feels amazing. I've played Fiddlesticks already, and this just feels really good. Next up, we have They Are Close, +1 starting mana. Game start, plant 3 copies of random followers from your deck into the enemy deck as Nightmares. So, you will get random monsters from going through and acquiring new followers from your support champions and from other things like that. But for the most part, you're very likely to get the cards from your deck planted in your main starting deck into the enemy deck as Nightmares. If you pull your Dread Harvester, if you pull your 5/5 that strikes, it's really good. This is really solid. So all those cards feel great to get for free. All those cards have great synergy with being planted in the enemy deck and coming down unexpectedly. So They Are Close is just an insanely good ability. This is the best 2-star that they could have given Fiddlesticks. 3-star, Nowhere is Safe 2. Round end, Terrify 1 for each time you damage the enemy Nexus this round. So this is similar to the Nexus Strike ability, except that it triggers off of Burn, and it triggers off of Impact. And Impact is very important. We'll see why in a minute. Star of Bounty, +1 reroll, +100 gold. That's better than +200 gold, so I'll take it. 4-star, Disarmed. Enemies have -1/-0. This feels pretty weak, but there aren't that many better choices flavor-wise for Fiddlesticks in terms of common power. So giving all of your opponents -1 attack when you have, like, I think there's 10 fearsome units in the deck makes perfect sense. It definitely has a lot of synergy with making sure that your opponent can't block. And then, of course, if you have Gloom, then it's just that much easier to make sure that all of your opponent's units have no attack. This is increased against deadly units, so Disarmed has seen more play recently, so it might be useful to have it and be able to stack it, that sort of thing. Next up, we have Star of Legends. Your supported champions have Corrupted Gatebreaker. Corrupted Gatebreaker is on play. I strike the enemy Nexus with no minus attack. Great. So this triggers your 3-star. You've damaged the Nexus. You can trigger it on your opponent's turn, which is useful. And, you don't keep Fiddlesticks in your deck, because Fiddlesticks goes into the opponent's deck. So the support champion that you draw is going to be when you're level 20, your support champion is going to be in your opening hand every game. So you will be more reliant on your support champion to either draw you into Fiddlesticks faster or win the game on their own. So giving them the ability to strike the enemy Nexus as soon as they're summoned rewards you for both playing very aggressive, cheap champions, because it means that you can get up your Terrify a lot faster, but it also rewards you for playing slower, more higher-cost champions, because they have higher attack, and they can literally chunk the enemy Nexus. So Corrupted Gatebreaker is, because of the way that Fiddlesticks' kit works, the way that his star powers work, it is an item that works on basically any support champion you can think of, except for a support champion that has 0 attack, which I don't think there are any. Galio would have Formidable, so that doesn't matter. So yeah, this is fine. Next up, his 6-star, which is really early into the tree, actually. What you need? 10, 20, 60, 100, 180, 280. So you literally can get... Or no, I'm sorry, this is 60. Well, I mean, you can go over here. Yeah, you don't have to get a 6-star. You can go over here and do it. So yeah, 280 to get 6 stars. Really, really cheap, actually. Bountiful Harvest. Whenever you Terrify for any reason, grants enemies Gloom and grant an ally random ally 2 Spirit. So giving all of your opponents Gloom every time that you Terrify is crazy. Now, I have verified that when you Terrify at the end of the round, it happens all at once. So it won't trigger multiple stacks of your 6-star by striking the enemy Nexus like 8 times. But otherwise, good. And remember, his Relic gives you a Terrify every time that you play a 3-star card. So the 3-star, the Relic is going to be insane if you get his 6-star. If you get his 6-star, you might as well get the Relic at that point. Star of Blessings, Baleful Seeker has Corrupted Gatebreaker. So as soon as Baleful Seeker is played, he strikes the enemy Nexus, which creates a nightmare of him in the enemy deck. So that's very, very good. You deal 5 damage to the enemy Nexus, you're Terrifying one at the end of the round, and you also get an extra copy of Baleful Seeker to dig into. So just a very, very good star that makes Baleful Seeker one of your best cards. Next up, we have Star of Discovery. Followers you acquire in adventures have Dreams of Yordles. Dreams of Yordles is Spirit and Impact. That's great. So you have a bunch of units that have Impact, which means that Fiddlesticks can easily get summoned to the board thanks to his 3-star. And since they have Spirit and Impact, that means that Fiddlesticks really wants Fear Cleaving Axe, which is fine. Fear Cleaving Axe, it makes perfect sense for Fiddlesticks. It boosts Gloom, it boosts Spirit, it boosts his 6-star. There's a very solid game plan here that fits perfectly with the Vex, Lux, Lilia set that Fiddlesticks was basically supposed to be part of. Mana Flow, game start, get and manage him. And then the last star power up here on the shoulder is, you should not ignore this one, Star of Wonder. Forgotten Terror has Immortal. So Forgotten Terror is a 6/3 nightmare. It cannot be summoned. It's not in your deck. It comes off of the 1-drop that I said had Shadow Totem. It's a 1 mana 6/3 with Overwhelm and Challenger, and it gets Immortal. Immortal is +1/+0 and Deathless. So this is literally just an eternal immortal nightmare that will haunt your opponent every single turn and crush their dreams. Insane, very, very good, very powerful star. Feels like a great capstone to Fiddlesticks' deck. And that's everything. That's the whole patch, everything that's been changed. My name is Serafi. Let me know what you guys think about this video, and I hope you have a great day.